ko ngā Himalayas o Kumaunga, ko Ganges tōku awa, ko South Pacific tōku moana, ko Fiji Airways tōku waka, ko Ngāti Fiji tōku iwi, ko Nasalai Koro tōku hapu, ko Brahman te hahi, ko Santa Maharaj tōku papa, ko Soni Vinod tōku mama, ko Rocky Ali tōku hoa rangatira, kei te mahi o hou, I raro I te maru o Emerge Aotearoa Phoenix Centre he kai whakahaere ahau, ko Supriya Maharaj tōku ingoa. Nō reira, ni sambola vinaka, namaste, tēnā koutou katoa. Cool. Hello everyone, I hope your day's going well so far. I am going to share with you a little bit about Emerge Aotearoa's Phoenix Centre model. We're a mobile community-based addiction treatment service. We deliver our service in counties Manukau for adults aged 18 to 65. We were developed in June 2011 as an alternative to residential treatment, and we work with clients who are significantly impacted by their AOD use. We are assertive outreach. We tell our clients when we meet them that if they disappear, we will hunt them down. We find that when people need us the most, that's the time where they don't ask for help. So we give it to them and we find out where they live and who their closest neighbours and allies are, and we find them. In our service, the plans are tailor-made to each client's needs and they're holistic. So we look at every area of their life as well as their substance use goals. We look at whether they have goals around employment, rebuilding relationships, financial literacy, everything. And of course, the most important part, in my opinion, and the best part, is that we are peer and clinical focused. So we have 6 FTE of peer support specialists and 6 FTE of clinicians. Every single client at the Phoenix Centre gets 2 people. They get to pick their clinician and they pick their peer support specialist. How about that? That was great for comic effect. So what we find is that at the Phoenix Centre we have 50-50 partnership model in the planning, development and delivery of services. So in every area, a peer support specialist is present. And to be honest, my ex-colleague Katie Richards is down the end of the room. Normally even presentations we do in partnership, so I'm usually standing up here with someone else, and if I get stuck, I'm calling you up. Cool, whoops. Okay, so how does it fit? What does this look like for our service? So as I mentioned, as peer support specialists and clinicians work 50-50 in every single aspect of the service, right from the initial assessment, 2 people go and visit the client. And what we find is that peer support specialists for us are what role models for what recovery can look like. They share their lived experience, what did and didn't work for them, and they guide the client through the steps of making change. So right from that initial appointment, when the client might be accessing a service for their very first time, they're with somebody sitting there who's also been through that, the same nerves and the same anxiety of, you know, what the conversation's going to look like, how they're going to feel, and they're role models of what it can look like once their process is finished with our service. Our clinicians use clinical AOD interventions, counselling and social work interventions. They manage risk and facilitate the assessment and intervention planning with clients. But again, peers are part of that process, part of every step of that journey. So what we've got here is a little table which demonstrates specifically what areas might be peer domain, which areas are clinical domain, and the column in the centre talks about the crossover between both of the roles. And what you'll find with the crossover is there is more that we can both do than there are that are distinctly different. When we're planning goals with clients and we're assessing clients, peers and clinicians are both a part of that process. Things like administration, you don't need a degree to write a support letter. Peer support specialists are perfectly capable and they do a lot of the admin as well as the clinicians do. They are present for external meetings, for liaison. We also have a flexi fund at the Phoenix Centre, which is a pool of money that we can access to remove any possible barrier to engagement or, you know, achieving goals. So peer support specialists are awesome at being able to find out who does what in the community to access what support we can financially for flexi funds. Supporting clients to court, motivational interviewing, Charlene's already mentioned that, so I won't go over that in too much detail, and group facilitation. So even with groups, we have a clinician and a peer facilitating together. What we do distinctly different, so with the clinicians, it's more of the what we call the boring tasks. So it's all of the client pathway documentation, screening tools, risk assessments, management plans, that kind of thing. The talking therapies, so while motivational interviewing is a skill that we believe is really important for both sides of our team to have, some of the more in-depth therapeutic interventions and talking therapies like behavioural therapies and narrative therapies are more clinician specific. And of course, comprehensive assessments, clinical assessing, detoxing, all of that kind of stuff sits with the clinician. With the peer, they use their lived experience. They are mutual. And there are some areas where, for example, we wouldn't, clinicians simply just wouldn't do. So things like 12-step meetings, they are peer-led, and so we encourage our peer support specialists to take our clients to those kind of meetings. Things like WINS appointments, and peers give clients a welcome pack at the initial assessment, talk to them about the service in very, very clear and simple terms without jargon, which I know that clinicians can sometimes be a little bit guilty of. What we find is that each role is equal in their value of ensuring the clients get the best support possible. Whoops, it's flipped to the same side. Okay. So for us, the key considerations are around value. I think what makes our service really successful for Whaiora is that we absolutely believe in the model and we believe in the power of peer support. So as well as what that looks like with Tangata Whaiora, how we find in terms of how we interact, clinicians and peers, there isn't really a turf war. It's very clearly defined. So I think by knowing what the value is and by every staff member believing in that value, the peer support role is given the mana that it needs, and we have more meaningful interventions rather than kind of having the token lived experience person in that space. What I would also consider for your services are doing a needs analysis around in which areas of your services could peer support to peers. Just kind of giving them a bit of acknowledgement of that being quite challenging on some days. Okay, what we have found. So when we first started, with any new service, there was a low amount of self-referrals and mostly referrals from external providers. 80% of our referrals are now self-referrals, and the majority of them are word of mouth. So we get that from family whānau and from, Whaiora themselves. That high demand is evidenced by our never-ending waiting list. At any point in time, people have to wait about 2 months to get access to the Phoenix Centre and get their own peer and clinician. So we have other things that we can put in place beforehand, but it is a model that is desirable to people, and I think the word of mouth component is one of the biggest kind of key indicators for us. What we've been particularly proud of as well is that many of our tangata whaiora have gone on to become peer support specialists. So for a lot of people, they aren't actually aware of what peers are. If you haven't been to a service which provides peer support, a lot of people aren't aware. And because we're in Counties Manukau, we have peer employment training providers within our region. So we've been quite blessed to be able to get people work ready, get people on their journey to becoming a peer and getting some training. So we're quite proud of that. And what we found is for staff, being able to work alongside someone with a client, having somebody else to work with to develop those treatment plans, the goals and problem solving, it's awesome. I can't really put it in any simpler terms. It's awesome, just being able to share that. And we have two kind of complementary but different perspectives. So there's no, again, because there's mutual respect there's no arguing over who is right. It's just completely different perspectives. And where I think I've seen that being most useful is, first of all, the initial assessment when you're grasping people, and the other places are when we're working with other services or with family whānau. So with our whānau interventions, being able to have someone sitting in the room when they're, having absolutely no faith and hope in their loved one forming recovery, having someone sitting there and saying, yeah, I know, I was there once and this is what my journey looked like, it instills so much hope, and it's beautiful to see. It's priceless. Also finding meetings for places like Oranga Tamariki, family meetings, anything like that, we find having that peer lived experience perspective is very, very valuable. We get strong engagement right from the word go. We have a very low drop-off rate considering our waiting list. People wait and they are ready to engage. We also have the peer support specialists that contact them every week while they're on the waiting list, so they keep them interested and keep them focused. What's also awesome about a 50-50 partnership is that if you want to go on leave, you've got someone else to support you. And support your client while you're away. And if there are times where we might have a client that's going through just a little bit of maybe just a bit more heavier or more complex things, there's two of you that can support that client to, if you've got lots of high risk or complex things happening at the time, you can share the requirements and responsibilities of liaising. And even things like being a mobile service, if we've got a young parent with children, one of us can play with the kids, one of us can speak to the parent. So it's just quite a nice balance. But most of all, what we've found in our model is that peer support specialists are not a replacement for clinicians or vice versa. They are both distinct in the education experience. Each staff member, just in like a normal team, they have their own strengths, personality types, backgrounds and beliefs. But with our successful combination, we find that our tangata whaiora flourish. So yes, that's it in a nutshell. Any questions?